everybody, hello and welcome as always. I am Sean, this is In The Mixer, episode 71, and it's one of my favourite episodes. So after we are introducing a whole new squad, we've had a whole off-season, we've had a whole transfer window, we're in a high division, this is our first actual season in the Championship. We are slowly getting towards Premier League glory, we're slowly getting towards Champions League, and all the fantastic stuff that comes along with that. Of course, we do need to focus on the Championship. It's a massive jump up. It took us 2 years to get out of League One. I think it's probably going to take us like 3, maybe 4 years to get out of the Championship. There are some very, very strong teams, but we have a tremendous amount to get through. There's a whole bunch of new faces. There's a new tactic. There's new opposition. There's a season preview. There's all this wonderful stuff that I'm going to go through in this episode as quickly as I can. If there's anything I forget, drop it in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys want to see, because as always, so much of the content on the channel will be driven by what you guys are after and what you guys want to see as far as this world is concerned. And we're going into kind of like our 9th full season, our 10th year. Once we get to 2029, a tremendous amount has changed. So if there's anything you want to see, let me know down below and I'll loop back and get to it in the next video. But let's jump straight in and let's introduce you guys, one, to the new squad, and then bring you up to date on a few different things that have happened around the place as well. Right, so this is where we currently sit. We haven't played any games. We are the only team that hasn't played games. Some teams have played twice. Reason being, we were originally going to start the season with a game against Nottingham Forest, and it was the intention to bring you guys that game. It got rescheduled due to a waterlogged pitch at our home ground, which isn't great given that we're starting the year already having games rescheduled. But I think it's somewhat in relation to the expansion to the stadium that's actually currently happening at the moment. So hopefully once we get through that, which is at the end of this month, the stadium will be ready to go again. The ground will seed, it'll all be fine. Now, the best place to start, my favourite place to start, squad review. Let's go through, let's introduce you guys to the new ones. First, I'll quickly go through who actually left. Before we get to the new names, because I'll do a full squad preview, we'll go through every individual position. Keith Coates, of course, left. He signed a contract with St. Pat's Athletic to go back to Ireland at the end of last year. We thank him for his tremendous service. Best of luck to you for the rest of your career, Keith. Dylan Price also moved on. He's gone to TNS over in Wales. He's a young Welsh player. He's going to do quite well in that division. And we got to a level where he wasn't going to make the most out of his current ability or potential ability. We need someone that's actually ready to play first team football right now, particularly in goal, because, individual goals, individual mistakes can be the difference between players making the grade or potentially moving on. And then we've got a couple of guys here, Mitchell Durkin, John Mash and Callum McLean, who are out on loan. There's a few more players out on loan as well. I'll go through those at the end. As we jump back into the squad, we have pretty much a full squad to choose from, 22 players, 2 players for each position, which is what I want. We've, for the first time, got additional depth in the under-23s. I'll go through those guys in a little bit as well. We still have that same homegrown club rule, but there's quite a few players that this season, as they get into their 3rd year under the age of 20, like Tyrone Taylor's one, Kieran Preston Kelly's one, Lewis Wright, Ricky Dean, a whole bunch of different guys are actually going to have their 3rd season at the club, which will mean there'll be a homegrown talent. And once we actually get them to that stage, our registration will be a lot easier. We can actually get 2 goalkeepers on the bench instead of a made-up one each week. It's a bit of a pain point for the last 2 seasons. Thankfully, this year it will finally resolve itself. As far as youth intakes go, because I think a couple of people have asked about them at various points, whether it's in stream saves or in the comment section or whatever else, we haven't had anyone come through that was any type of quality at all. So that's something that we'll continue to work towards as we get towards the Premier League, get the additional cash flow with that. I'll try and start asking the board to invest in more youth recruitment facilities or academy development facilities to actually bring through some proper Isle of Man talent, which I think is one of the key directives of the real life FC Isle of Man side, as they try and give better player pathways to people in the region. But for us, until we get to the Premier League, we're going to continue using the transfer market as well as we possibly can. And we have, I think, used it quite effectively this season. We'll start at the top. Jack Donkin being the first one. He was fantastic for us last season, the ex-Southampton junior. Going into his 2nd year with us now, you can see as we made the jump up, a lot of the guys that were previously 5-star ability are now only 4-star ability. So a lot of guys that were potentially playing at their level in Scarlet Bet League 1 and potentially could be something in the Championship, but are a little bit further away from that. For that reason, he's going to be our backup goalkeeper for this season. 2.5-star current ability though, still 4-star potential, still another year to go on his deal as well. So great to still have him around. If it all works out, we'll keep him around as a backup goalkeeper. But we have brought in the first of 4 loan signings. I'll introduce you guys to those guys in a little bit more detail. This is Toby Sheriff, the Sheriff that I've been calling him. We picked him up from Barnsley, who are currently up in the Premier Division. He's yet to make a first team appearance, but looks to be a fantastic goalkeeper. I was looking around at like the under 20 England side, and he happened to be available for loan. I thought we really need like a proper high quality goalkeeper. We had Kieran Johnson from Chelsea 2 seasons ago in League One, and he was fantastic keeping us in the division. I wanted to try and leverage a bit more depth from the loan market to have some ready-made players to keep us in the Championship, to help bring all the players up that still have high potential but might not necessarily be there, to bring them up to that level so that in Season 2 we can kind of get rid of some of the loan signings, or like the case with Sean Waterman, sign them onto permanent contracts. So the Sheriff joins under that respect as well. He looks quite good, 17 balance, 16 teamwork already for a 19-year-old player. He's had a good preseason, 3.5-star current ability, still 5-star potential. He will leave at the end. We're not paying all of his wages, which is absolutely fine. But he has a longer term contract at Burnley. He's got another 3 years to go on it. So I don't think realistically we're going to be able to sign him given his value. But anything can happen over a 12-month period. And it'll be great to have him between the sticks. Of course, magnificent Facepack. Again, great work for Chilled Moose. Check out her links in the description below. At right back, we've got pretty much the same two that we had last season. Lewis Ryder's going to get an opportunity to play at a championship level. Basically, there just wasn't anyone on the market that was going to do the wing-back defend role the way that we wanted him to. And really, we're putting all this development around his technical attributes, which have been his main shortfall, that have come along quite nicely. We're going to give him additional time to hopefully make the most out of this 4-star potential ability. You'll think there's maybe potentially a little bit of hypocritical thinking in there because we said the same thing about Jack Donkin and we weren't going to pick him with pretty much the same current ability and potential ability ratings. But I think you're a bit safer doing it with a right back than a goalkeeper at this level because we desperately need to keep clean sheets and win games. Whereas if a right back cuts out the ball, it's not the end of the world. There'll be other players there to hopefully cover. 20 years of age though, you would think, turning 21 this season, it really is his last opportunity to make the most out of that potential ability, otherwise it will be wasted. Behind him, of course, similar to last year, Phil Nelson, who we picked up from Leicester. He had actually contributed quite a bit, 17 appearances. You can see he has dropped off quite a little bit here, so he's just going to be a backup option. And we do have a centre-back that can also play on the right if needed, but I think it's always good to have depth and 2 players for each position. We've got competitions that I'm not prioritising at all. Phil Nelson will definitely get an opportunity in that. On the left, it's a little bit more complex. Kieran Preston-Kelly has consistently for the last couple of seasons just kind of underwhelmed me a little bit. Can do the wing-back on defender role, which is what we need from him. Technique does need a little bit of work. It is improving, but he's always been really highly rated from our playing group or our staff. Still 2.5-star current ability, still 4.5-star potential. I actually think he might have actually lost his spot in the last 12 months to Sam Morris, who's going to be the backup. I will start with Preston Kelly because he's a little bit more ready from a current ability perspective, and Sam Morris has an additional year of development to go. But in reality, I do kind of think that Kieran Preston-Kelly, Sam Morris may transition between this role until we get a settled lineup, until we get consistent results. For the start of the season, I've given the number 3 shirt to Preston-Kelly just because I think he's a little bit further ahead and a little bit more of a finished article. At 20 years of age, I think you might be better prepared for championship football than Sam Morris at 19. But he made 28 appearances last year. I could see him definitely cracking 30 this year as well if he gets into good form and the team continues to win with him in the side. He's also not as comfortable as the wing-back on defense, and I do want to try and keep a bit more consistency in the roles and the structure throughout the course of this year. As far as the central defensive positions go, there's a couple of different players that we've kept from last season. Tyrone Taylor, still the club captain, he signed a new contract. He nearly left and went to Barnsley, funnily enough, in the Premier Division during the off-season. We've given him a new contract. He's on $2,000 a week, equal with our permanent full-time earners. I'll go through that part in a second as well. But I love a left-sided centre-back, and he's been excellent for us, whether playing in his role or working towards being a central defender. The ex-Liverpool stopper has been fantastic for us. So very much looking forward to seeing what he'll do at the higher division. Similar story though, 20 years of age now. He really needs to kind of hit his straps and become that 4-star ability central defender that we know he can be. And I don't see any reason with his quality and with some of the depth in the national sides why he couldn't be like an under-21 international. Of course, getting way too ahead of ourselves there. We're just hoping that he has a good season. And he will, of course, continue to wear the armband for us this season. We've kept 2 backups, the same as last year. Kingsley Smith, he largely played most of the games last season. Very similar, just a no-nonsense stopper. We played him as a central defender on defend alongside him. Good technical attributes for a defender. Don't need him to do anything with the ball at a lower level. But I think now we've stepped up, we do need a little bit more in terms of passing, technique, all that sort of stuff, which is why we've brought in a player via the loan market, who I'll go through in a second. Still a wonderful option to have. We'll still get a tremendous amount of game time in cup competitions, in rotation, suspensions, all that sort of stuff. And he will be one of the backups alongside Matt McCluskey, who's been at the club now, going into his 4th season, one of the longest serving players that we've had. He's been tremendous since we picked him up from Tottenham. Always very highly rated by the staff in terms of current ability and potential ability. Maybe not necessarily as respected by me, which probably isn't 100% fair all the time. I just think he makes rash challenges sometimes. And most of my memories of watching him play are watching him go through the back of a 1v1 defender and give away a penalty or something crazy like that. So he'll continue in squad as a 4th choice centre-back, and he'll get his opportunities, including in the first game this season. So hopefully we'll get the most out of him in the final year of his contract as well. I did briefly mention it earlier. Scott Welsh is the player that we've brought in, or Welch, I'm not sure. I'm sure I'll pronounce it both ways at various points throughout all the videos for the rest of this season. Central defender or covering central defender can also be a bit of a ball-playing defender if we've got him working on that role. He's joined actually from Arsenal. He's gone through Norwich, Fulham and Arsenal academies in only 19 years of age, which is crazy. A different club each year, and now he joins us as his fourth club during that time. He will play the majority of the games. One of the loan signings we've got, you can see his wages here are £7,750 per week. I desperately wanted to try and bring in some young players that were already in the international setup that were looking to make their jump to senior football to give them real opportunities at a championship level. And I'm hopeful his additional quality or his additional current ability and his potential will get fulfilled this season, and he'll be one of the players that helps us step up and stay in the division. I do also think it was quite important to get like our back five sort of right, and Toby Sheriff and Scott Welch coming in on the loan market will be fantastic for us, making sure that we are like, you know, a relatively secure unit and not just a squad reliant from a defensive perspective on potential ability. We've got quite a bit of current ability with those two in the lineup, and there's a bunch of different players around them that will hopefully get to their level by playing alongside them. That's the idea in my head. It probably won't work out that way, but I'm still thrilled to have him involved. For the right-hand side of midfield, we brought in Stuart Dorber. We actually signed him towards the end of last season. A couple of eagle-eyed people might have seen him as a future transfer as we were playing through last week's episodes. We signed him on a non-contract agreement, £500 a week after he's left Man City, which is absolutely cheap. He's on a 1-year deal, so very low risk for us. He will start the majority of games at 18 years of age, 2.5-star current ability, 5-star potential. Looks to be an excellent supporting winger on that right-hand side. Good technical attributes, and that's, I think, what puts him ahead of Ricky Dean at the moment. Wonderful mental attributes as well, like some good aggression in here, some good work rate, excellent off the ball, which is what we need. Physically, good acceleration, good pace, good stamina, and a lot of different stuff. Will continue to grow from a physical perspective as he turns the 19, 20 throughout the course of the next couple of seasons while he's with us. Only a short little guy. You'll see him once we're out there in the 3D match engine. He's very, very little, but he's been doing quite well in pre-season as well in most of the games we've played. The backup will be Ricky Dean, who has now been at the club for 4 years as well. Joined us in League One, has been consistently fantastic down that right-hand side of midfield. He will also turn 21 this year. We've got a good crop of players that are. If he doesn't hit that 4-star potential ability, his contract's up at the end of the year. So we can move him on, or potentially in January put him on the transfer market, see if anyone wants to pay his value at 140k, make a little bit of a profit out of the transaction and thank him for his service as well. So he'll be the backup this year wearing the number 17 shirt, but he will of course, like all these other players, get various opportunities throughout the course of the season. That's just the way it works out sometimes. Over on the left, we've made one signing as well. Dave Reilly has joined from Southampton. 2.5-star current ability, 4-star potential. I've given him the number 11 kit. He's a 20-year-old player who actually does have, I think, or in my opinion, a bit more technical ability. Like when you look at the roles you want to do, and winger and support is his default and the one that we want to use him in, his double figures and at least 11 for all of the technical attributes needed for that particular role, both primary and secondary. Same for mental attributes, same for physical attributes. Rafinha, who will be the backup left back, he's a good player, but like he's lacking a little bit here in first touch. Passing leads a little bit to be desired. Physically, he's just like 2 or 3 in each match or in each quality rating behind Rowley. They're both 20. They're both wonderful left-footed players. They're both here for 2 seasons, so I think we'll rotate between that position based on form, fitness, all that sort of stuff that comes up with it. And I love having left-footed players on the left-hand side. It gives us a great natural balance. It always has worked well for us, and hopefully it'll work well again this season. These central midfield spots, we've got 4 players, 2 faces that are very familiar. Franz Wolf, who was our player of the season last year, who is still somehow only 19 years of age. That handsome mug there has 2 more years to go on his contract, which is fantastic. On 2k a week, no release clause, nothing like that. He was magnificent for us last season. He's already started pre-season quite well. He'll continue as that deep line playmaker, hopefully on that defend role if we can close out his tackling ability this season. And all I really need from him is as consistent a year as he had last year. He always keeps possession. He always uses it intelligently. Just a wonderful player and definitely amongst my favourites from the series so far. He'll play alongside Sean Waderman, who is now 21 and one of the elder statesmen in the squad. He has, through no training with me, nothing like that, moved to be like a number 10, which I think is where he's actually currently playing for the under-20 national side, which is crazy. We'll, of course, use him as a messiah on attack in our shape and structure. He will link midfield and forward play. There is a little bit of a change to our structure, which I'll go through in a minute. But he's kind of like a lower league Steven Gerrard type. He can do it all. He can tackle, he can run, he can carry the ball, he can pass the ball, he can do all the great stuff that we need him to do. And again, similar to a lot of players, 21 years of age, I think he'll hit that 4-star current ability. If he can get to 5-star, that's going to be absolutely fantastic for us. And he's got a couple more years on his deal and no release clause. So worst case scenario, if the season doesn't work out and we want to try and cash in, it's probably a good time to move players like that on as well. But more than enough to be a serviceable player and a star of the team for this season. Definitely. As far as the players that we have on the books and as full-time employees, he's one of the better ones in terms of current ability and one of the highest potential still at 5 stars after a good few seasons for us as well. So those two, Franz Wolf and Sean Wademan, will maintain like a relationship as the first choice midfield pairing. But we've also picked up Christopher Granger, who looks to be a fantastic player that's come through by Manchester City. Played at Bolton previously before that, where he cut his teeth in the Championship before, and at Man City, where he actually made one first team appearance in the Premier League, which is crazy to see. Can play as a Mazzai, can play as a deep line playmaker. Just exactly what we would want out of a player to sit on the bench and be like versatile for both roles and both positions that we're using in our existing setup. I think he's going to be magnificent for us. 3-star current ability, 4-star potential. It's really that potential is the only reason why we haven't tried to integrate him to the side at any point. But wonderful technical attributes: 14 free kick taking, passing, 16 technique, mentally 16 bravery jumps out at you, 14 aggression, 13 work rate. Physically just a beast across the park, double figures for everything. And at 20 years of age, hopefully this year he can kind of hit that 4-star current ability and be a decent squad player for us. He'll take the number 16 kit and be a backup for Franz Wolf in most occasions, but I would expect if either Wolf or Wademan is unavailable, he's the first one to jump in. Alongside him will be Lee Wilson, who had a really horrific long-term injury last year with a broken leg. Got through it, we worked him back into the squad, and he actually did quite well in the run home at the end of the season. So only 2-star current ability, 4-star potential. He's definitely the 4th choice central midfielder. But again, very similar, can play both roles. If we put him on the bench, he can be a deep line playmaker, he can be a Mazzai. His tacking isn't necessarily as good. His physicals in some instances are better, like he has got really good stamina, but he can't really hold the player off. He can't really jump. His balance needs a little bit of work as well, and mentally a little bit further behind also. So into the last year of his deal, 20 years of age. Again, low risk for us. If he performs above what we need him to, we can sign him on a longer deal, only on £500 a week. It'd be super easy to work him into the existing wage structure at like twice that amount almost. So big year for Lee Wilson, but it's a big year for quite a few in the squad. Now, I haven't mentioned it up until this point, but we have gone with a little tactical tweak. Instead of playing a 4-4-2, we're playing a 4-4-1-1. Part of that was due to players that were available in the market, and part of it was because I wanted to kind of secure that central area before I worried too much about the wide areas. It's a little bit of a change in tact for us for this season, but I think we want to make sure we're stable in the centre and perhaps not overly committing as many men in behind and a little bit further forward. You'll see what I mean when I go through the tactic, but the player that we've brought in to play the number 10 is the 3rd of our 4 loan signings, Robert Ramsey, who we picked up from Middlesbrough. No, apologies, I misspoke. On loan from Southampton. He played last season in the Championship at Middlesbrough, made 41 appearances at a Championship level and scored 12 goals. So already proven quality at the division, still only 19 years of age. He is on £7,000 a week, but we do have him for the full year. 4.5-star current ability, 5-star potential. He can play as an advanced playmaker at the 10, which is what I'm going to use him as. I want to play like a proper number 10, linking the midfield and the attack. I think last year we struggled a little bit with Knowles kind of struggling for form and fitness, being that player to drop in and work around. Given that we've got good balance in the wingers, I didn't want to change to an inverted winger and have them cutting into that space. So we made the transition to one up top and one in behind as more of a creative 10 to try and pull the strings a little bit more. He's essentially got a free role and he's very, very good. He's had an excellent preseason. He played at the European Under-21 Championships this last summer and did quite well with a Scottish side that I think made it out of the group stage. His experience will be tremendous for us, and at 19 years of age, it's a perfect platform to him to play every week, get a lot better, and hopefully drag the team up a little bit in that time as well. And worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, he goes back to Southampton at the end of the year, and there's no harm down there. To play with the 10, we had to get a backup 10, and Alex Busby has joined via Manchester United. Again, a free transfer. If you're eagle-eyed in the last episode, you might have seen his name pop up. Only 18 years of age, 2-star current ability, 4-star potential. Definitely a big jump up in football from him. Has made no first-team appearances, but I think an adequate replacement in terms of having a backup number 10 to come off the bench if needed, to fill in for Ramsey, who I expect to play most of the games when he's fit and available. And at the same time, no slouch. Like the key attributes that we've got here for an advanced playmaker, he's in double figures for all of them. 14 passing, 15 technique, very impressive for an 18-year-old player. 19 bravery, immediately jumps out at you. Probably one of the highest individual ratings we've had for anything throughout the course of the series. And good physical attributes that will come with time as well as an 18-year-old player. He's already a big boy, 185 centimetres, 75 kilos. Give it another year or two, he may be at like a hulking beast ready for championship football. Up top, and this is where it gets really, really interesting, we have our very first wonder kid. And if you haven't watched our last few series with Bournemouth, with #United, with Manchester United, with PSG, I'm a little bit wonder kid obsessed, just a little bit. I love having them. And the first one that we've been able to bring in is Henry Doran, who has joined from Chelsea. He's an England Under-21 international and has scored quite frequently at that level. Just struggling for opportunities at Chelsea, only made one first team appearance, which funnily enough was against us in the FA Cup last season. He joins us for a full year. He's on a tremendous amount of wages, £9,000 a week. So we've really kind of broken the bank to get him here. And I'm hopeful that at 15.5 million value, and in his own way, a one-season wonder, his goals will be what can keep us in the division this season. And then next year, we look to the transfer market and bringing in our own players to develop to keep us in the league and play a little bit further up. Really, all I'm focusing on is keeping us in the league. And that's why we've got these 4 higher quality, higher division young players from Premier League sides. But I think when you look at his stat lines across here, there's a lot of green, probably the most green that we've had for any player so far. Technical attributes, his dribbling and finishing are both good. He's on an individual training regime to improve his finishing a little bit. Mentally excellent, 16 bravery, 14 determination, 15 flair, 15 off the ball. He's going to work quite well leading the line by himself with that off the ball movement. And then physically just an absolute beast. 16 acceleration, 16 agility, 16 balance, 16 natural fitness, 16 stamina, 15 pace, 12 strength. He can do a little bit of everything. And that's probably shown by the fact that he's been in the Chelsea Academy for about 5 seasons, working on his skills, honing his craft. He just hasn't necessarily gotten the football that he needed, and we can provide him with that platform. So I'm massively hopeful that Henry Doran will be fantastic for us. And of course, a backup, he's met by a familiar face. Daniel Knowles will play again. He's played with us now in 3 separate divisions. I was kind of umming and ahhing what to do with him. If I was going to try and make him like the backup number 10, if I was going to try and play him as an advanced forward, a deep line forward, a trequartista. But in reality, I think for him being 21 years of age now and actually turning 22 as the oldest member of the squad before the end of the season, he's probably not going to hit this 4-star potential ability. But his 3-star current ability, like that's a fantastic backup striker to have on your books, not earning a tremendous amount of wage. And they're ready to be called upon, either if it's off the bench or in a cup competition or to rest Doran or something like that. He's everything we could want and more. Most of his technical attributes for what we're going to ask him to do, which is an advanced forward on attack, are already in double figures. Most of his mental attributes are as well. Still got 16 determination, so I'd hope he's still trying to work to get in the side. And double figures for all of his physical traits as well, including 16 acceleration and 15 balance as the highlights. I think he's going to be more than serviceable. He has grown a bit. He's 189 centimetres now, which is quite big for an advanced forward or for a trequartista. I'm hopeful now we're playing one up top, he'll be able to hold up the ball and continue to progress. He's played quite a bit during pre-season, 5 goals and 5 appearances in that time. He did quite well, but that's mainly because we didn't sign Doran until I think a couple of days before the transfer window slammed shut. But again, it's good to know that he's performing. It's good to know that he can work within the shape and within the role. And it's fantastic to know that we're continuing to integrate consistent players throughout the course of the years. And as we continue to move up the divisions, I think that's really important. I think once you get to a League One level, Championship level, Premier League level, you can't just rip out the entire core of a squad and replace it each year. It doesn't quite work that way. You need to build up dynamics. You need to build up time. And he's got good relationships and rapport with quite a few different players in the squad as one of the team leaders. So that brings us to squad. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over and show you guys a squad depth chart, which is going to come up now. As you guys can see here, I used to do this all the time. You can see it kind of in front of you now, our season 10 planning. I do this pretty much for every save. So I've got an Excel sheet that's got like our one season wonder series with Man United and PSG in it. I've got this one. I've got an old one from the beta when we had both Uzbekistan and Atletico Madrid. I've got one for future save ideas, so I'm never going to share it with you guys, but you might see it pop up from now and then. I've used it before on streams as well. People might have seen it. And it's effectively just a way to map out exactly where our depth is and where our anticipated starting 11 will be at the start of the year. And then on top of that, we've also got some future transfers that are coming through. Now, these were players that I wanted to try and bring in. I effectively had about £3 million, I think it was, by the time we had some players go out. And by the time we reworked like our loan budget, our scouting budget, and our collective win bonuses. And I had to stretch that as far as I possibly could. So there were quite a few different players from around the world. Actually, that's actually probably a good note. Let's jump back into the regular. And I will show you here. Add or remove leaves. People actually asked last week, and I forgot to go back and do it, how many divisions I've got up. I've got 15 different nations in at the moment, and eventually we'll get to a stage where in England it's just the Premier Division. But for the moment, League One will be out from the end of this season. We'll just have the Championship. Once we get out of the Championship, I'll remove that division as well, and it'll just be 15 of the top divisions from around the world that I think produce the highest quality regen players, new gen players, whatever you want to call them. I think there's a lot of good young players that'll come through like youth international squads, and effectively I'll use that as like our scouting tool to say, oh, hey, what's going on in Brazil? What's happening with the Brazil under 20 team? Is there anyone playing in the Brazil under 20 team who's like 16 years of age, 17 years of age? Could we have a look at them? This Peterson guy, can he play up front? Like, is he decent? Could we get a scouting report on him and potentially say, you know, is he going to be of a level that we need him to be in 12 months time, in 2 years time, in 3 years time, when he eventually turns 18 and we can sign him and bring him across to England? And that's effectively what we've done for a few of the guys that you're going to see here. There's quite a few different faces. Some of them I've given face packs to, some of them I haven't. The first lot players that are joining in January, and there's 3. There's Hernandez de Vargas. You will have already seen him as part of that Brazilian under-20 side. 3.5-star current ability, 5-star potential. He plays a deep line forward up top. He arrives on the 1st of January. I would have loved to have had him for the start of the season. He probably wouldn't have come straight into the lineup, but if he had been there at the start of the year, maybe we wouldn't have gotten Henry Doran on loan. My preference is always to have players that are available and ready to sign for us for full-time deals and for full-time contracts. But being that he's under the age of 18, he can't quite move across just yet. So Brazilian striker will join us in January. Once the transfer window opens again, it'll be fantastic to have him. And he's still playing at the moment in Brazil. They're still giving him game time in the league and the cup, and he's performing at a high level. I don't see any reason why, if he's still playing every week, he might actually arrive to us as a 4-star current ability player, 5-star potential ability player, and we might transition to 2 up top. He's a proper deep line forward. We haven't had a number 10 in ages. I'm really excited to have him, but he's for the future. We'll go and talk about them further once we get to January. The other one we've got is Jason Kreisinger, who is a Deportivo Saprissa, not FC Saprissa. Central defender. He's American, but he's come through the Costa Rican academy, interestingly. Only 2-star current ability, 5-star potential ability, but I think everything that we were looking for in terms of like a player at a youth level, he's got in spades, and he's continuing also to play at the moment for Saprissa. They're in their off-season at the moment, but they do start again before the year is out. Under 17 years of age, 17 tackling I think is fantastic. 15 determination I think is fantastic. He'll join as a new 5-star potential backup defender. He may not walk straight into the first team lineup, but I think he'll definitely give us some additional depth and some additional room to grow and become a championship level player rather than a League One player that we're trying to plug into a championship level side. The third one, and the one that actually gets here a little bit quicker than everybody else, is Vigan Voskanyan. I would have liked to have had him for the start of the season. He'll be a backup goalkeeper. Again, 2.5-star current ability, 5-star potential. That's really what we've been looking at, new high potential players to bring in. He joins from Sporting Gijon over in Spain. He is, however, an Armenian footballer. 15 reflexes, 13 passing, 13 rushing out, 15 vision, 15 aggression, 16 natural fitness, 14 pace, 13 jumping reach. As a 17-year-old player, those are all pretty tremendous stats, and I think he's going to be excellent for us. He might come in and be like a backup for this season, but there's no reason that we can't use him as like a progression plan player and then try and potentially have him come into the first team next year. That might mean loaning him out. That might mean Jack Donkin stays as like the backup option for this season. We have the Sheriff in goal, and then it's a work to transition Voskanyan in as the first choice goalkeeper from next season on, when he will be 18, turning 19, and perhaps a little bit more ready for championship football. That's the idea in my head. We'll see how this one plays out over time. A whole bunch of other players here. I'm not going to go through any of them, but there are some absolute crackers. They actually join us next year. So by the time we come back and do season 10, year 11 as a preview, a lot of these guys will actually join us. And again, very similarly, I won't go through them now because I don't want to spoil any details for the future, but very similarly, these are young players that are already playing international football at various different European countries, at a couple of South American countries that I think are going to come in with a little bit higher current ability than what we've potentially paid for them in advance. So that's kind of how I've worked it and kind of what I'm trying to transition through as well. I did mention we do have a couple of different players in the under-23s at the moment, all of which are available for loan. So the likes of Grant Davies is still here. He's going to try and go out on loan to hopefully a lower division side before the window shuts. Bjorn Lubka is one that we've picked up. Haven't given him a face pack yet because he will go out on loan as well. We already mentioned John Mashin, Mitch Durkin, Callum McLean, all players that we've brought in that still have good potential ability, but perhaps aren't necessarily there in terms of current ability, and we don't want to expose them to championship football too early or limit their playing opportunities. So they're going to go out, and for the first time, we're really going to start trying to leverage the loan market a bit more to develop players and get them in. So a tremendous amount that we've gone through. That felt like that took ages. Hopefully for you guys, it went relatively quick. I think I've been recording for about 40 minutes, so I'll try and edit that down as much as humanly possible. But I am really happy with the squad. I think we have tremendous depth. I think we've done about as well as we could do for a League One side that is moving up towards championship level. If we can stay in the championship, and that is all the target that we're setting for this year, staying in the division, I think we're setting ourselves up really nicely to have a good second year success, a good third year of success, a good fourth year of success, potentially go for Premier League after that. And in reality, up until this point, it's been about putting together the best squad possible and playing attacking football to try and climb the divisions. Now it's about giving ourselves that stability and that base to continue developing players to get us up to the Premier League level. That's the idea in my head anyway. These things could go completely out of the window. We could have the Sheriff do his back throughout the course of the season. We could have Henry Doran break his leg. Anything can happen. That's one of the things about this game and real life football. Anything can happen, but we'll continue to work our way towards something great through the end of the season. I will quickly go through the adjustments to the tactic. which you guys can of course see here now. This is the starting 11 as I view it. You will note that both Taylor is suspended for the first game of the season and Rowley is actually not fit. Neither will start and neither will have any involvement, obviously, for Taylor, but Rowley probably won't be involved in this first game of the season, just so we don't force him back through. You can see straight down the middle all four of the loan signings that we've brought in, as well as Wademan and Wolf, our two best players from last season. So a very strong core and a very strong centre. We have added some additional instructions because we are playing at a higher division. We do want to try and work consistent chances and we do want to retain consistency in terms of our width as well. So we're a little bit narrower than in previous seasons, but I think that goes in line with the formation rather than any changes or massive concerns or anything like that. Again, we're going to go positive from the off. That's not going to change. We're still going to try and score to stay in the division rather than worry too much about defending. We've got a cautious mentality to go to if things break down and we want to drop off a little bit, play a deeper line, be a little bit more direct, a little bit more over the top. So we've got that up our sleeve, and we have an attacking mentality as well, which is effectively very similar instructions, just some different and adjusted player roles. You can see the wingers have pushed on a little bit further forward. You can see Ramsey's the advanced playmaker goes to an attacking role instead. So like we just basically push individual player roles a little bit higher, but effectively the same instructions are in place, just with a more attacking mentality. So we play the game a little bit higher up the pitch. That's the idea anyway. It's worked for us so far. Hopefully it works again this season. And worst case scenario, if it doesn't, I'll chuck it out and we'll just try something completely different in the second half of the year. Whatever we have to do to stay in the division. That's basically the long-running theme in this one. As far as the division is concerned, if we go and have a look at the championship season preview, you can see the big relegated sides are the ones that we have to watch out for. Watford, Stoke and West Brom are the three sides that have come down. Ourselves, Wigan and Charlton, of course, getting promoted. We got promoted as champions, but for whatever reason, we're 65 to 1 odds. We are 65 to 1 favourites to actually get relegated this year, which is more down to the actual reputation of the club than anything to do with our current ability of our squad. Reason I say that is because Doran is actually in the Media Dream 11. We haven't had a player in the Media Dream 11 for it feels like about 3 years, but he makes the starting 11, which is mainly due to the fact he's a Chelsea player and a wonder kid. You can see here Watford look very strong. Both their left fullback, left winger, right central defender and right back are in the squad. There's also a player in here from West Brom. Rogers up top for West Brom looks very tidy. Bristol City, who's our first opponent today, have a midfielder that's in the Media Dream 11. Gamara from Derby looks to be very good. Quello from Blackburn looks to be very good. We, of course, played against him last season in the FA Cup. We didn't find our way through, but he was a very, very good player. And Watford also has the goalkeeper as well. So Watford looking incredibly strong. Doran is one of our key players for the league itself. Robert Ramsey is one of our key players. Is there anyone else from the squad? No, just the two, and both of them loan signings from higher division sides. So I think that makes sense. As far as our preseason schedule is concerned, we've tried to play as higher division teams as possible. So where applicable, we've just played either Premier League sides or sides in the Scottish Premier League. We did lose to start off with against Aberdeen, but you can see here very different lineup to the one that will take the first game. There was a few signings that we hadn't finalised yet. None of the loan players were in yet. We beat Dundee 3-0. We beat Rangers 1-0. We drew 1-1 with Birmingham in a very good contest. We drew 1-1 with now Premier League Millwall in a good contest. Drew 0-0 with Brighton, who are up in the Premier Division. Even though Phil Nelson got sent off early in the game, we did quite well to get our subs out there and actually stay in the match. We lost 1-0 to Bournemouth, which I'm fine with. I wasn't expecting to go undefeated throughout pre-season or anything like that. They are a Premier League side. They haven't dropped down to the Championship at any point, so still a very good team. And then we actually beat Premier League Aston Villa 1-0 in our last friendly of the season. Very good result. Henry Doran coming in on his first start for the club. And hopefully that's a good marker for how he's going to start the season. So everything's been fine, like nothing to complain about. It would have been nice to have a couple more wins in here, but we have been transitioning quite a few different players through. We've been playing players during this time that have now gone out on loan at other clubs. We've brought in loan signings that probably didn't arrive until the last 2 or 3 games of the season. So I do think we may potentially struggle in the first month and then get our shit together around Christmas and hopefully put together a good run of results in the new year to keep us in the division and keep us up towards the top. But more than enough talking from me. We have covered a tremendous amount. Let's jump in now and have a look at the 2 lineups for the game against Bristol City and start our first ever championship season. Alright, so we're of course going with Sheriff making his debut in goal. McCluskey will come in at centre-back. Usually Welsh and Taylor would play together, but Taylor's obviously suspended for this first one, as is Kingsley Smith due to an accumulation of yellow cards from last season. So McCluskey comes in, gets his opportunity today. Preston Kelly, interestingly, takes the armband on the left-hand side of midfield with Taylor out of the squad. Wright, of course, plays at right back as he has for the last couple of seasons. Dorber makes his debut on the right-hand side. Rafinha on the left wing, though we will try and bring on Rowley in the second half as he works his way back into fitness. The Wolf and Wademan as a central midfield partnership. Ramsey will play as the advanced playmaker at the 10, and Doran will lead the line up top, hopefully hitting the ground running and finding the back of the net. They have a very, very, very good team. I cannot overstate that enough. They're expected, I think, to finish in the playoff positions this year. Pepe was in the Media Dream 11 as a central midfielder. They're playing him as a defender today. Came through the Benfica Academy via Dortmund, Porto, Wolves, and now Bristol City for the last couple of seasons. Looked to be a very, very good player. 10 million squad value, I think, is more than all of our current owned players. Some of the loan players are above that, but everybody else is a bit difficult. They've signed Bali Mumba, who we played last season when he was at Sunderland. A very, very good player. Still only 26 years of age, despite being nearly a decade into the season. Looks to be quite a good defensive midfielder in his own right. They've also got Tavares, who so far in the first game of the season was their best player. Similarly came through the Benfica Academy before randomly making his way to Bristol. It's weird, actually, that they've got a couple of Benfica players in their academies. Been at Bournemouth, then Southampton, Torino, and now Bristol City. So definitely got experience and exposure at the higher division. Barnes on the right-hand side. Harvey Barnes is a very good player. There's a few different people I've seen get him in their Football Manager. Saves around the place, can play all three roles across the attacking midfield structure there. Looks to be excellent. Maybe hasn't developed as much as you would hope from a player that would have started around 20 years of age when the game season launched, but still absolute quality and has played at a Premier League level as well, so he'll have very good experience. On the left, they've got Halil Dervisoglu. Apologies if there's anyone Turkish in the audience that I've butchered that pronunciation for. Their highest valued player at 17.25 million. Comes through Sparta Rotterdam, then at Brentford, Udinese, Fenerbahce, and now Bristol City, where he's made over 100 appearances in the Championship. So I think a very, very good side. We're definitely setting up with like a counter-attacking structure, even though we are with our positive mentality. I'm just going to assertively say we're huge underdogs, and that puts no pressure on you guys, and that just kind of relaxes everyone. We might turn around and lose this game 5-0, and we can at least look back and say, first game of the season, we got absolutely belted. We might be kind of like the unknown in the division and catch a goal on the counter-attack or something like that. No matter what happens, I'm going to remain calm, I'm going to remain lucid, and I'm going to focus on the next part. First highlight with here, ball starts with Sheriff. There's one forward to Dorba, but Tavares with a good header. Hall now coming forward. Looks for the switch out towards Barnes. They've got an overlapping runner in the fullback Johnson. Rafinha did quite well to stop the forward pass. Mumba sends it back to Ogbeta, and they work all the way back to the goalkeeper. Walton's come out, and I thought for a second maybe Doran might get involved. Playing nice little triangles here. You can definitely see we're kind of just set up behind the ball at the moment. Switch out towards the right fullback corner. Just stand him up, boys. Barnes with the ball back stick, and Halil, thankfully, heads over from the edge of the 6-yard box. But you can see there just that difference in ball retention, the way they worked us around, found that little angle, got the crossfield switch. I think we are going to get perhaps torn apart a little bit more by individual quality of players than we have in previous seasons. We are through 30 minutes though, and we are doing quite well. We haven't had a shot on target yet, but I'm going to hit just a man more, give everyone some focus. And if we can get through to half-time without conceding, I think it gives us a chance to regroup, kind of review how we've been going. As soon as I've said that, they've got a highlight here. Ball with Ogbeta, now across to Pepe, who switches out left to Halil. Just stand him up, boys. He skips past one challenge, skips past it again, and then thankfully the strike is straight at Sheriff, who does well and holds. 1 minute to be added on. We're through that now. The referee calls full time. So we're yet to have a strike in anger. They've had 7 shots, 3 on target, and 48% possession. We've had 52% of the ball, but I don't know what we're entirely doing with it if we're not working good positions. We're going to stay on our positive structure. We haven't conceded yet. I'm going to assertively say I'm pleased with how things are going. Keep it up. Everyone seems positive and responsive. There's a few poor ratings in there, but I think what we'll do is we'll wait until the hour mark, and then we'll have a look at form, fitness, yellow cards, all that sort of stuff as well, and make our subs based on that. Corner here, Pepe to take. So the centre-back's taking corners. If we can counter-attack early, they might be able to position at the back. Welsh with a good header away. Now Ramsey comes forward. Doran might get there first for his first real involvement from a highlight, and he turns on halfway, and he's starting to tear away from the defence. Gets the strike away. Not a bad effort for a guy that was on his own, but just well wide of the far post, really. All right, we're through the hour mark now. We're going to make 2 unorthodox subs. We knew we were going to bring on Rowley for about 30 minutes to work his way back into fitness and match sharpness. But Grange is actually going to fill in on the right-hand side for us. Both Rafinha and Dorba have struggled, and Dorba's on a yellow card. I'm going to hold on to the last sub for maybe the last 10 minutes. Learn my lessons from last season, not risk going down to 10 men. I'm going to passionately say I've got faith in you guys. Go out there and make a difference. Confirm that talk, and we're also going to use Old Faithful, a get creative shout. We've immediately got a throw in here very deep in our half. Wolf with the ball. Oh, he's lost it out, but Wright gets it in towards Doran. It's hacked away. Now, Rowley, can he come off the bench and gets the strike away? Our first strike in anger. Walton equal to it. Maybe if he had a bit more venom on it, we could have done something, but at least we're getting shots away. The highlight continues. Wright's won the ball back in an excellent position. Goes back to Sheriff, who's lost it out. Oh, and Mumba has recovered possession in midfield and gets the strike away. Wonderful save from our Sheriff in goal. Pushes it out in the post for the corner. We're going to see that now. Pepe to take. Can we get 1v1 at the back here on the counter-attack? Granger with a good header away. Hall back in. You might notice I've changed some of our set piece routines as well, just to get 10 men behind the ball from all set pieces and just leave the striker, our advance forward, further up the pitch. Wide free kick, Granger to take. It's curling ball towards back post. Doran was in there, but the ball's going to come away now from Pepe, who I think's moved into midfield. Wademan does quite well to recover possession and releases Doran on the left-hand side. He gets the strike away, but Walton with an excellent save. We're going to watch this corner, and then I might pause it and do the subs. Granger's going to take. Wide one in, and it hits the deck somehow in there. Someone's got to attack that ball. Comes out to Bancroft. They're on the counter-attack now. Just stand him up, boys. Wolf with an excellent challenge. Puts it out for the corner. We're going to pause there. Where are we at with our subs and everything? Doran has struggled, but I think he's our best player out there at the moment. Lewis Wright struggled, so we might bring on Phil Nelson just for some fresh legs. And let's put him in his favoured position, which is full-back on defend. It means he'll drop off a little bit, but passionately, I have faith in you. And let's go play, and let's use our demand more shout. They're going to carry on here from the throw-in, which isn't great. Johnson with the ball, back to Pepe at the top of the box, and he's gotten the strike away. Is that because I made that sub, you think? Do you think me making that sub and Nelson coming on, even though he had nothing to do with any of it, is the only reason that highlight happened? If I'd have left it and not broken up play, would we have worked something a bit better? Johnson does quite well, and then Pepe, we knew he was going to be one of the better players in the division, has time to turn, and it's a good strike, to be fair, low and hard, back into the far corner. We've used our demand more shout as well. Hopefully everyone can pick themselves up. Ball in behind here for Pert Harris, who's come off the bench for Bristol. Ball towards backstick and Bancroft, and he's managed to work it back in as well. The wheels have come off a bit here in the last 10 minutes. And to be fair to them, like, they've been the better side. I'm not lying or saying anything the opposite of that, but I'm worried that I just made that last sub, and it's definitely on that side where Nelson just gets... Oh no, it's Granger, sorry. Nelson just gets dragged away. It's Ramsey, our number 10, who's actually dropped in for him. Where is he? He's back there somewhere. Probably shouldn't have made that sub. I should have left stability in the back four, and maybe we could have kept a clean sheet, but let's just call it a lesson learned and go from there. 4 minutes to be added on here. They've got a deep free kick. Can we pull one back here? Ball forward for Doran, and he turns and does quite well. He's got men around him, gets into the box himself, squares it up to Wademan, who's managed to pull one back. First goal of the season, and first goal at a championship level for Sean Wademan. And it is unlikely to make a difference, commentator, but you don't have to be a dick about it. We're at least going to make it a grandstand finish for the last 10 minutes or so. Doran does quite well. Does he get the strike away? No, he's tackled by Johnson, and thankfully Wademan made the supporting run and smashes that one home. Good support around him as well. Both Granger and Rafinha getting involved. Ramsey's going to come off injured, so we're going to finish the game with 10 men, which isn't ideal, but there's only 2 minutes of additional time to be had here. We're through that now. Surely the referees called full time. They have indeed. So in the end, Bristol City absolutely worthy winners. Goals in the 81st and 82nd minute. 17 shots, 11 on target, 50% of the ball. We had 5, 4 and 50%. Sean Wademan with the late goal to pull one back for us. I'm going to say, let's just say, I can't fault your effort. Nobody expected us to win, but you gave it everything, and everyone has responded quite positively, which is good to see. Not looking to crush anyone's dreams, not looking to crush morale this early in the season. We definitely want to focus on the positives and see how we go from there. It does mean we start the year down in 22nd spot in the relegation places, but most other teams have played 2 games, so we'll thankfully get the opportunity to jump out of there against Nottingham Forest in a couple of days. As far as our schedule is concerned, we've got quite a bit of football in August. Potentially what we might do is come back and do the games here against Brentford and Swansea. So play 4 or 5 games off screen, including Carabao Cup, where we've drawn Lincoln and we'll play our backup side. I would prefer to get knocked out of that competition, if I'm being honest. But hopefully 4 or 5 games into the season, we might have picked up some points, and we'll have a game against Brentford, who have played Premier League football, and Swansea as well. The trip down, oh no, they're making the trip up from Wales. As always, guys, these start of the season episodes are tremendously long. Thank you if you have watched it all the way through it. If you do like this style, if you do appreciate the detail going into the full squad, introducing it to everyone, let me know in the comment section below. If you'd rather just high-level detail or just specific detail on the new signings rather than the old ones, then also just let me know in the comment section below. As always, your feedback will drive a tremendous amount that we do on the channel throughout the course of this year. But as always, thank you so much for watching. That's the part that I appreciate the most. I've been Sean, and I'll see you next time in the Mixer.